Alright, so I'd like to do a quick short video on brake system flaring. So first of all, there are pretty much of kinds of flares, and well, I guess one of them isn't really flare. Um, yeah, no, they're all called flares. Okay, yep, I take it back. They're all, yes, three kinds of flares. So that's my sort of rough diagram there. That's a bubble flare, and as the name suggests, it looks like a bubble. The other one is a double flare, because you can see there are pretty much two walls. So that's a flare, and a double flare is pretty much a flare with an extra flare on top of it, a folded in flare. Basically, it's reinforced. And since there are already other videos out there, I'm not going to spend too much time on the details of the procedure, but I will tell you a small difference. What I'm using is a normal bubble flare toolkit and a pipe flare from Home Depot, or Home Depot Auto Parts, as I like to call that place. So I guess the first thing you have to decide is which sort of flare you need, and that's what a bubble flare looks like. I'll admit it's a little bit rough, and as you can see, the bubble flare is pretty much the male, and the flares are like females. So it fits inside the other. And the fittings, so you have to look at which fittings you use. So in my case, I'm going to install this pipe here, and you look inside. And as you can see, that's a male flare there. It's a bubble flare. Consequently, I have to use a female, which is, in my case, a double flare. So bubble flare and double flares are standard for copper and steel. And to the best of my knowledge, flare is used more in plumbing for like big pipes. So you could even use like a 5/8 diameter pipe like that. And if I'm not mistaken, please don't quote me on this, it's used on stainless steel pipes. So stainless steel is a lot harder. It's the hardest of all the three materials. So you can't do a double flare on stainless steel, if I'm not mistaken. So this line here, as you can see, it's a copper nickel brake line. I love this. It's rust proof, and it's very easy to deal with. It bends easily, and it flares really nicely. The steel, this one here is a typical steel line, and it's a bit harder to work with, and it rusts out, right? So I'd like to show you that my flares are good. So this is a store flare. This is how it comes if you buy it. And as you can see, that's a double flare, and that's the one I made there. Oh, where'd it go? There. So not bad at all, I don't think. So the right is the one from the store, and that's the one I made. So not bad at all. But yeah, so usually I've seen the videos I've seen, people have pretty much the toolkit in one. So to make a double flare, you have to start off with a bubble flare. So you use this kit here. I use this one here. That's the one I have, metric bubble flare kit, and it has these dies, and you choose the right die for the correct pipe size. So that's 3/16 or 4.75 millimeters, 6, 8, and 10. So 8 and 10 would be for like fuel lines and transmission oil cooler lines. Um, and then, so I do the bubble flare with this, and again, you stick the pipe in there, and some people like to chamfer them, and then I've seen even some people filing it. I don't do that. I don't think it's necessary. My flares just turn out just fine, and I find that sometimes it works best that way. But anyways, I use, like I said, with the steel pipe, it's a bit more tricky. You have to play around with it, and with the copper nickel pipes, it's a lot more simple. But anyway, so I started off with the bubble flare, this tool, and then once I bubble flare it, so I get something like this, then I just put it inside here, inside the flaring tool, and that's what it looks like. It's just basically a big triangle, and it forms that shape there. You put it in and then you flare it, and that squashes that upper part down, creating that second flare. So for anybody that's doing brakes out there, here's an alternative to buying a flaring or a double flare kit. So if you go to the auto parts store, if I'm not mistaken, a double flare kit is very, very expensive. And I'm just showing you that you can do the same thing with a normal pipe flare. That's all it is. It's just a pipe. There's no such thing as an automotive pipe, and they're just pipes, right? So I'm showing you how you can do the same thing, the double flare, with the pipe flare tool from Home Depot. And that happens to be a rigid number 345. So yeah, I just thought this would be interesting. Anything else I should say? Yes, you always have to remember to lubricate just a little bit, just a drop of oil on the tips for each flaring action. There is no difference between a metric. Just that one happens to say metric, but it's the metric still uses a 3/16 pipe. That's what 4.75 millimeter is, 3/16 of an inch. So this one, it actually says 3/16 there, and it fits, the pipe fits just perfectly here. So just in case you're wondering. Yes, this other thing here. This is a little pipe cutter. It's a little thing. And this is a must. You really need to have this little tool here. Now, if you try to cut these things by hand with like a saw or like a hacksaw or something like that, you can do it, but it's just a lot more work, and you really have to know what you're doing more. It's more difficult. So anyways, again, I hope this helps. Again, how you can do all three types of flares using a normal Home Depot flare tool and an automotive brake line flare tool.